Let's design our kitchen. I've got the floor plan here that I am tracing over, so we're going to use this. This is the layout we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is go to our cabinet tool, and that is here, cabinets, and that gives you these tools. And you're going to have the same basic tools in Home Designer Pro and Interiors. Okay, let's just look real quick over at, here's what Interiors looks like. So you've got all your same tools here, and then in Home Designer Pro, the only thing that you're missing is the custom countertop hole option. Let's go back over. Let's go back over to Premiere, and it keeps trying to. I've got the cabinet selected, so let's just put a base cabinet here, and let's see what that looks like. Okay, let's take a floor overview or dollhouse view and see what that's looking like. Okay, so there's the default cabinet that is coming in. So that is not what I want that to look like. So I'm gonna make some changes in the dialog box, and so let's just open that up. And the basics of it is going to be fine, but I am going to turn on the backsplash and make that an 18-inch backsplash for the for this room. And let's look at the door and drawer style. So I've got a framed door here, but I'm going to change it to that so it's more of a shaker style. I'm going to change it to that, and my drawer style I want to match that. So I'm going to have that be the framed drawers as well. So let's also look at our materials for this. So I do not want this to be this black countertop. Oops, I'm going to go to materials, and so I've got my, where is it? Countertop is this black granite, but I don't want that. So I'm going to go here and select a new material. I'm actually going to use a material from one of the manufacturer's catalogs. So you'll want to go over to Chief Architect and download any of these manufacturer catalogs that you want to use. So I'm actually going to use a silestone countertop, and I'm going to use one from the which one? The Eternal. And I'm going to use this Eternal Statuario. I don't know how to pronounce it. It kind of looks like Carrara marble. It's a quartz countertop that looks like Carrara, so that's what I'm going to use. And so now that's going to be my default countertop style. So I'm going to go with that, and I'm just going to keep the hardware as it is, although you can go over here and change up the hardware here in the handles and stuff. But we're just going to keep that as the defaults for now. So now that's my countertops, my cabinet and countertop style. And what happened to my backsplash? Did I not turn that on? I didn't. Here's my backsplash, and I'm going to make that 18 inches there. So now I have a backsplash there, and it's just got the basic white subway tile. So there we go. There's that. So now I'm going to just make that my default. Set that as my default base cabinet. So now all the cabinets that I add are going to have this same look. So you can also do that in Interiors, and if you're in Home Designer Pro, let's see, I'm going to add a cabinet there, and I'm going to have to go into my default settings, into my cabinets, my base cabinet, and change all of the settings here. So in my door and drawer, change that just like I did, and go into materials and change the countertop change the countertop there, and go into and turn on my backsplash, all of that. You got to do that here in your default settings, and then that will change that for you there. So I'm going to go back to Premiere. So I've got my default set, and let's get a view here so we can see what's going on in our kitchen. Camera. So we can watch what's happening as we go. All right, so now I have my default base cabinet set, and I can start adding in more cabinets. Oops, I want to be in this view, in my cabinets, and now my base cabinets. So I want a corner cabinet here. So if I go against the wall here, it's going to give me my default 24-inch. But if I go into the corner and hover over into the corner, it changes that into a corner cabinet. So I'm going to do that. And then it defaults to the angled corner. But if you don't want that, you can open that up, and I can take away that diagonal door and make it a square corner like that. So I'm going to actually do that for this one. And then I'm going to add another base cabinet here, and here, and here for my dishwasher, and here for another appliance there. And I'm going to, for my sink, I've got actually a custom sink cabinet that I have made. So I'm going to pull that in, and I'll show you how to make it. So I've got that over here in my library. And I'm just going to search for apron sink. And I've got an apron farm sink cabinet in my library that I have built and added to my library for myself, so I can use that over and over again. And I'm just going to drop that in right there. Yes, it conflicts, but I'm going to make some adjustments. So I'm going to pull this one over a little bit. So I want a 20, where do I want this one? So now I've got my cabinets dropped in. I can just scoot them around to fit them how I need them to fit. So, and let's take a look here. This camera is not giving me the best view. So there's what's happening with those cabinets there and my sink. So I've got, I think I want this one to be a 24 also. And then I'm going to drop my dishwasher into that one. And then I've got my sink base. And then a 21-inch cabinet there. And my corner cabinet. And a 24-inch. See, I'm going to pull that one in just a little bit. To make room for my range and range hood there. And I'm going to have a full height cabinet here in the corner. Ooh, I don't want it facing that way. So it went in sideways. I'm just going to turn it. So that can flank my fridge right there. So that'll just be, let's look over here. So that's going to flank my fridge right there. All right, so that's just the basics of dropping in the cabinets. We'll get into customizing them here in a minute. So let's drop in our upper cabinets. Get back into this window and look at our cabinet tool, and here's our wall cabinets. So if I just put one here right above that, you can see that's what that looks like. So let's open that up and see what it looks like as our default, our general. door and drawer. We're going to use a frame door here also. Okay, so that's my door style, and I'm going to also change, I'm going to change these to 42-inch uppers. So here's where you would change any of those size parameters that you are using. And it's got a basic crown mold at the top, so I'm actually just going to leave that as the standard default there. So I'm going to just click OK. So now there's my my upper cabinet, and it's automatically placed 18 inches above the countertop. All right, so I'm going to make that into my default. Yep. So just remember in Home Designer Pro to do that through your default settings. All right, now let's add those around the rest of the room. So I need to be in this window. So let's go to wall cabinets. I'm going to have one here, and the wall cabinet will do the same thing as the base cabinet did. If you hover to the corner, it's going to make you a corner cabinet. And I'll go in and change that again in a second to a corner instead of a diagonal. And I'm going to actually, I think I'm going to put some open shelves there. So I'm actually not going to have a cabinet there, although I may work that out. Let's see. But I do have a cabinet here, and then I'm going to put open shelves on either side of the window. So actually, let's get rid of that one. And let's go in and make this one a corner instead of a diagonal. And then I can actually come in and adjust the size of this to fit that. And so I want this upper to align with that lower, and I'm going to make that one a bit bigger there too. So let's see. That makes that. And so now I'm going to add some open shelves, and there's a shelf tool here, so that makes that super easy, and I can just pop one in there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and update that to how I want it. I want it to be 12 inches deep, but I do want it to be a nice, like, thick, chunky piece of shelf like there. So it's a nice, chunky, floating shelf. And I want that to be the same material as my island and my beams are going to be, which the beams in the living room, which are so I don't want it to be the Snow White. I want to select its own material, and I'm going to go over here to plan materials because I've already used the wood on that beam. And where is it? Okay, it's here. It's that oak weathered. Okay, so now that shelf is going to match my beams in my living room, and I'm also going to stain the island that color. So now we have that. So I'm going to, let's see, let's make sure this is the right size. I want this to sit inside the window trim. Let's get everything lined up. Now that we've got everything in there, let's get it all lined up. So I've got a 24-inch base here, which with a 24-inch above it, and then I've got my 24-inch tucked right up to it. Let's get to a better view here in this one, so we can see. Let's just get a bird's eye view so we can see how this kitchen is coming together. There we go. Now we can see everything. All right, let's go back over to here and get my arrow tool. So I've got that connected to that, and then I've got my 36-inch sink base tucked right up against next to that one, and then I've got a 21-inch cabinet there, and got my corner piece here that's not letting me select, so I'm going to use my tab key, and I'm going to just pull that over to meet that, and I'm going to start over here in this corner on this side. So Chief will automatically set your cabinets at 3-inch increments so that they can be standard. You can make them any size you want if you're doing custom cabinets, having them custom built, but it will automatically set these, it will automatically snap them to standard cabinet sizes, which is super handy. And that is the way that I typically do my kitchens. I just use all standard sizes. That way it's optional for people to use pre-built cabinets or do custom. So typically when I'm laying out, I'm just using standard sizes so that everything can fit together nicely. So I've got a 30-inch over here, and let's just check that. Yep, that's 30 inches wide. And then I'm going to have 36 inches for my fridge here, and then my 24-inch here. So that gives me plenty of space for my fridge, and then I've got space for my range here, and then I've got my 24-inch base on this side. So let's, and then I've got my shelf here on this side. So I'm going to line up my window now. Now that I have my sink base in, I'm going to get that window lined up, centered. So now my window is centered over my sink, and I also see that I need to fix this sill height. So I'm going to pull that up. I'm not going to change my header height because I want that to match on the outside of the house. But I am going to pull up that sill height to like 42 inches so that I have a little bit of countertop underneath. I mean, a little bit of backsplash underneath. And I'm actually going to turn off some of the options for the interior. I'm going to keep the sill, but I'm going to turn off this apron. And I do that over here and underneath interior sill. I'm going to turn off that apron. So now I just have my backsplash that's going to run along there, and I can see that this cabinet is not against the wall. So I'm going to push that back, and that'll make all of that flow seamlessly. So, and this is a custom cabinet that I built that I will show you how to do. And I can see that I need to update my countertop here, so we will go in and fix that right now. So I have a 0 overhang, and I need to make that match the rest of my cabinets. So let's see what it is on these. So the overhang is 1 inch here, so I'm going to make that match. I'm going to make that a 1 inch overhang on that one too. And now that all flows together, and that makes a nice corner there for my apron sink with doors below it. And that one changed to my same countertop because I set that as my default. So when I brought that one in, it made that automatically match. So let's see what's next. So I've got all my base cabinets lined up. Let's make sure all of our uppers are lined up now. So I want these shelves to fit right up against that window trim there, between the window trim and this upper cabinet. But I do want them to be, I want them to line up with this base. So actually I'm going to pull this one in a little bit, and I'm going to make this one a 24. And then that way this can line up to that edge there, and so can this. and that all tucks up nicely together. So I'm going to, I'm going to copy that using this copy paste tool, and I'm just going to hold position, and that's going to make it in the exact same spot, and then I'm going to move it over here to this side. And that should fit just right because it should be the same size. It's a 24-inch here, and it's all centered, so it lines right up to that trim on that side too. So all of that matches perfectly, and it's exactly what I want. So I'm going to actually multiply these shelves, and I'm going to do that in elevation. So I will do that by pulling a wall elevation for that wall. And you can see here how everything is lining up with that. And I'm going to set these, actually I'm going to shift select to select them, select both of them. I'm going to pull that one down so it meets the bottom, and then I'm going to paste hold position again, and then pull those up, and then I'm going to copy and paste hold position again and pull up another set. For me, I like doing it visually because I like to see how it's coming together. You can use the array tools and copy tools to make them exact. I just like to do it visually personally, and just sort of nudge those into place how I want them to look. So I'm liking that, so I'm fine with that. So while we're here in elevation, we can look at our cabinetry and see how things are lining up. Now, this is going to be our dishwasher. I haven't added that yet, but you can see the swing here is going the wrong direction. I don't want that opening up against that corner there. I want that opening out into the room. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to use the mirror tool. That's this one. Reflect About Object, it's called actually. So I can use that, and then if I just hover over the center of it, then it just flips it right on its center axis right there. So now I've got those two cabinets flanking, and they're mirrored properly. That one's opening the way that I want. This one's going to be the dishwasher. So let's actually get out of here for now, and let's add in our appliances. So we're going to go over here to our library, and again I'm going to use a manufacturer catalog, and I'm going to go down to the, which one do we want? We want the GE, and personally I love the Cafe, so I'm going to use those. And let's start with our dishwasher, and let's grab this dishwasher here, and you grab your appliance, and then you just pull it over onto this cabinet, and you see it'll start to snap to it, and it will automatically convert that cabinet into an appliance cabinet. So if that was on an end panel, on the end, an open end, it would have an end panel. So it's a cabinet with an appliance in it, and so it still has our countertop and everything attached. So there's our dishwasher. So let's get the fridge in there. So I'm going to use this French door fridge with the freezer on the bottom, and tuck that one in there. So actually that's the deep one. Let's see, this might be hold on, let me get rid of that one. I think this might be that's the counter depth one. Let's go with that one. That one's better. It's the same style, but it's the counter depth. So there's my fridge, and let's go get oh, that's a wall oven. Let's get a range. There we go. There we go. Let's get the range in there. Okay. And then for my range hood, I'm going to do a kind of a built-in look more. So, but there is a catalog for those that I really like, that I use all the time. It's these. This company has a lot of really great hood designs. So I like this one, and I'm just going to use this nice shape here and pop that in over. Ooh, it didn't like that. So I'm going to pop that in. Sometimes you just have to place it somewhere because it doesn't like to put things on top of each other. It thinks it's going to conflict, even though it's really supposed to go on top. But sometimes Chief doesn't understand that. So you just have to force it. You have to make it do what you want. So that is my hood design that I'm going to go, and I would just make that match my cabinetry. So there's, let's see, there's those appliances. And I'm going to, let's see, what else do we need in here? Now that we have the refrigerator in there, we can, and we have the range, we can, let's see, we can put a cabinet above the fridge. So now that it's there, it will automatically do a cabinet above that fridge. So it automatically made that height. Now it doesn't do the depth or the width, but I can pull that over, and then I can make that match the depth here of this tall cabinet, this little butler's pantry, chef's pantry that I put here, or, however your cabinet design is going to be. As a matter of fact, this probably needs to be taller so that it matches. So we can fix that when we get into elevation, but if you wait to add that upper cabinet till you've got your fridge in there, then it will automatically place it on top of that fridge. All right, what else do we need in our kitchen? We need our island. Okay, to make the island, we're just going to use our base cabinets, essentially. So I'm going to go back to my cabinet tool and use my base cabinet. And right here, I want to have my, that's where I want my microwave to be. So I'm going to put a base cabinet there, and put it the wrong direction. So I'm going to select it and use this little arrow tool to turn it. And we'll get it adjusted after I get it built. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off my ceiling plane layer where we added that tray ceiling in just for a minute. If I can get it to select. Is that it? Yes, that's it. So I'm just going to turn that layer off so that I can see better what I'm doing here with this. And actually, now that we've got it all laid out, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off too, so that I can see better what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got that base cabinet there, and then I'm going to add one more base cabinet next to it, and then adjust its size. And in this one, I'm going to put a microwave drawer. So I'm just going to go to the library and search microwave drawer. There it is. All right, and it's going to do the same thing when I bring it over and put it into that cabinet. And then let's take a look at what happens in that cabinet. So it does put it in there, but it didn't know I want it on top. I don't want it on the bottom. So I can go in here to the front, side, back, and I can adjust that. So there's my appliance. So I can just move that up. And there we go. And I'm going to move that separation point to in there. So now that's on the top, and I've got a door on the bottom, but actually I want that to be a drawer. So I'm going to change that to a drawer. There we go. And for some reason that did not become my default drawer style. So I'm going to go here, and my drawer, I'm going to make that a framed drawer. So there we go. And let's look over here at, so there is our island, the start of our island with our microwave in it. So let's get this properly placed between our cabinets here, so we know that we have our proper amount of walk space before we go any further with this. So let's get to our dimensioning tool. Let's get over here, get to our dimensioning tool, and I'm going to use just a point-to-point dimension so that I can get to the edge of that cabinet to the edge of that cabinet. And it wants me to turn back on my dimensions layer, so that's fine. So that's going from the cabinet to the cabinet, not the countertop. So that's okay. Just make note of how you want to dimension that. If you want it to go to countertop, just be sure to pop that over because it just snapped to the, but let's do it from countertop to countertop. So let's do one on this side as well. So we want to make sure that it's going to snap to the actual countertop, to the cabinet. So let's move it to the countertop so that way we know exactly what our walk space is going to be. So we know that we need that to be, we want at least 42 inches here, and this is a pretty small house, so we're just going to make it 42. And that's going to just scoot that cabinet over and make that an exact walk space there. And then I want to do both of these here. So I've selected both of those, and since that dimension is connected to that cabinet, I can select that and make that 42 as well. Right. So now I know that these two critical areas are spaced properly. So now I can make this island a little bit bigger, and I'm just going to actually make this easy on myself and just make this to the depth that I want the island to be. And then what I can do on this cabinet is I can adjust the overhang on this side, how that's coming out. So I can just, yes, we want the countertop, but we don't want it to be uniform. We want that right side. I want a 12-inch overhang over there so that we have some knee space to sit. So that's going to pull that over like that. So now I've got an area for seating there. And I can pull in some bar stools later and put those in. So let's see what did we do? What is this overall? Depth is 33. So let's actually just make that 36. And it moved that side, but I can just snap that back over there, and then I can grab that one and snap that one, and now I've got my island. And I'm going to leave it not too much bigger because I want this space to put a little table or possibly a desk here. So I wanted this to be a furniture area. So it's not a huge island, but it's got enough space for 2 people there to sit. So let's see what's next. Okay, now that we have everything laid out in general, we may still need to do some adjusting and some tweaking, but we've got it all pretty much laid out. So now I'm going to start making some adjustments and adding some more of the details. So here's these 2 windows that we had added earlier, and now that I see them in there, I want to make them just a little bit bigger. So because they're over this 24-inch cabinet. So I'm gonna, what does 18 look like? That's better. So I'm going to then just center that on that little cabinet, and I'm going to make this one 18, and then I'm going to center it on that cabinet. So now I just have those two. Let's get over here and look at that in 3D. So actually they're a little bit high. So I'm going to pull them down just a little bit. Yeah, that's better. All right, so now I have my two little windows there, letting in some natural light on this side of the room. So you can see here that our backsplash connects where we have all of our cabinetry, but it's not making a backsplash here over our range, and it's also not making a backsplash go up here. And I kind of would like this to be a feature. So what I'm going to do is use the custom backsplash tool, which is here under our cabinets, custom backsplash. So what this does is it creates a material region on the wall. So you just drag it up there, and then that will connect together. Just make sure you get it in the right spot everywhere you need it. I'm going to pull it down just a little bit so that it meets the top there. And now I have a backsplash that goes all the way up. And let's see, I'm going to resize this hood a little bit so it goes all the way up to the ceiling. And then I can pull that tile all the way up too for a feature tile wall. And let's see, let's go back over to this side of the room, and I'm going to do a custom backsplash here as well. So I can just pull it all the way up and across, and it's automatically going to cut around that window and connect in with all of the other backsplash. So now let's take a better bird's eye view of the room. So, and actually, you know, now that I'm looking at it, I might want those upper cabinets to be a little bit taller. So what I can do, I can just go in and I can select each of those by holding down the shift key, shift select everything, and make those a little bit taller. So the height, oops, you know what? Let's cancel out of that and let's hold the shift key down and start that over, because I don't want to change the height of this overall cabinet, because then it will change the way it sits over that fridge. So we don't want to do that. But I want to change all of these to a little bit taller. Let's add 6 inches to those. So let's just make those 48-inch uppers. So they just get a little bit closer to the ceiling without being all the way up there. And then I can, now I know sometimes these are taller, they bump out more, they do different things, so you can do all sorts with your cabinet designs. Let's look at this. So you can look here and see where the top of it is. The finished floor to the top of this is 102 inches. So I can go in and make this one the same. 102 inches. So I know those are the same height. And let's see what this one's at. The top of this one is at 101.5. So I need to just make that 102. And now all my heights are the same, and by doing that, it makes all of my crown molding connect together. So if you wanted to make that stepped or something else, if you changed that, like, let me just show you. If you were to make this taller, it would take that piece of crown back up, and that would just connect there, and this other one would connects to the side there. So you can make your different heights if you wanted to. So I'm just going to actually undo that and make those all the same height, because I just want a nice clean line, because this is not a very big kitchen, so I don't want it to get too busy. Okay, what else do we need to do in the kitchen? Actually, I'm going to go ahead and fix this, because I don't like the way that does. I was going to add an appliance in there, but I'm going to go ahead and make it fit the right direction. I'm going to use my reflect tool and reflect about its own center. So now it opens the right way. So that's better. Okay, let's add our plumbing fixture here, and I'm going to use another manufacturer's catalog for that, and I'm going to use Delta here. So I'm going to go to kitchen, and I'm going to use the Trinsic Pro here, and I can add that right here in a 3D view. And then if I go here into my 2D view, I can make sure it's centered over the sink. Now, if you use the center tool here and do it, it's going to center the entire object. And I actually like the actual faucet to be centered, and then the handle part is off to the side a little bit. So I'm just going to nudge that, use the arrow keys on my keyboard to nudge that, so that I want the actual faucet hole to be centered over the sink hole. And then it always places it pretty far back, so I'm just going to pull it forward a teeny bit so it's not in the window. There we go. And then I can change its finish to the actual Delta finishes, and I'm going to do it the matte black. And if I'm in the 3D window, then when I choose that, it turns into the spray paint tool, and I can change that. So, and I lost my library, but there it is. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do in my kitchen, I want to add is my detailing here onto my island. So I'm going to open this up, and I've got two cabinets here. So I'm going to just open both of those up, doing Shift Select. And I'm going to go to Accessories, and I'm going to add some feet. And I need to go into the library, and I'm actually going to use a bonus catalog for that, for cabinet feet. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to just use this little block foot right here. So what that does is it replaces the toe kick. And so I'm going to go back over here to my general, because that just looks really short at 4 inches for a toe kick height, and I'm going to change that to 6. Okay. And you can see where I've got the two cabinets that join together. It does not put the feet in the middle. It goes ahead and it knows that that becomes one piece of furniture. So where's my camera tool? So it puts those just 4 feet on each corner, because it knows that that has become one piece all put together. So there we go for cabinet feet. What else do we want to add into our kitchen? All right, let's add some light fixtures into our kitchen. So one of the main things that we are going to want to have are some under cabinet lighting, and you'll find that here under your little electrical symbol. And I'm going to I need to be in this window for it to show up. To go to my electrical, and I'm going to use this rope light here. So that's just going to give me a nice line, and I'm going to need to go down here and look up so I can see that made that task light underneath there for me. So I'm just going to now add that over here too on this side. A rope light. I'm going to add it there and there. And then I'm going to add one there. Now I'm also going to add one underneath my hood, although it would probably have a different light source, but I'm just going to add that for lighting purposes, so that we know that there's a light there. Let me go back over here so we can see what that's doing. So see, we've added those lights there. And I did that separately because if I were to put it here, it would connect it together. So I don't want that, but I want to move that. That's not going to work for me. So I need to open that up and change its height here. So I'm going to make that actually like 72 inches so that it's kind of up inside that hood. So if you had a light inside the hood coming down, that's how that would be over your range there. All right, so those are some under cabinet lights. You could do the same thing to add upper cabinet lights if you wanted to. So I'm going to add some decorative lights here over my shelving. So let's see. So I'm just going to search my catalog here because I know it's called a library light, the one that I want to use. Library, oops. Light, see what comes up. There it is. So I want to use that little gooseneck type here, and I'm going to put it on the wall here so that it sits above those shelves. And I'm going to put another one there. And then I can go here and make sure they're centered by using my center tool. Use that center tool a lot. Oops, wrong way. There we go. All right. So now I actually want to change the material on that. So I'm going to go here to the material paint. Actually, I need to go here first. And I'm going to, in my library, I'm just going to search for brass. And I'm just going to make it like a tarnished kind of brass. So that changed. I have that set for project. So that means anything that was that same material within my entire project just got changed to brass. But luckily that's all I had was those two things. So while we're here in the materials, let's go ahead and change the cabinet. Oh, it did, look. It changed the cabinet material to that too. So let's undo that. Okay. And let's go back to component, so that it just changes the component. And let's try object. Right, so that changes the whole object. That changes just that object, and it didn't change everything in my project that was that to that. But now what I want to do is I want to change my cabinet hardware to match my faucet. So I'm going to use the material dropper and pick up that texture, and then actually I want everything in the room that is this, I want all of these to change, so I'm going to change that. I'm going to use the room feature there. So that changed all of my cabinet hardware in the room to that matched black to match my faucet. Okay, I'm actually going to change my sink to, I don't want it stainless, I want it to be a white porcelain. So I think I have a porcelain, no. Yeah, there it is. A porcelain material. So I'm going to turn it back to component so that I don't change everything in the room. Okay, and I'm actually going to change my island to match my shelves here. So I'm going to pick that material up also and change that to, and I'm going to use the object. So that changes the entire object, changes that entire cabinet to that. So now I've got a contrasting cabinet, a contrasting island, and my shelves that match, and that also matches my my beams in the room. So let's also go ahead and do a custom backsplash color back there. So I'm going to use a another one from a manufacturer's catalog. So let me close this down so I can get to them easier. A manufacturer's catalog. I'm going to use a dowel tile. Dowel tile, and it's this, which one is it? It's this line here, this Cristallo, and I'm going to use this pretty blue. So I'm going to choose everything in this room that is this white tile will now turn into that. So there we go. So now I've got that custom backsplash all throughout my kitchen. There we go. All right, I'm going to add one more set of light fixtures here. I'm going to add some pendants over my island. So let's look over here in our catalogs, and I want to use a like a glass type pendant. So the pendant that I want to use is in another bonus catalog, and it's in lighting. Oh, which one was it in? I think it's in lighting number 6. Let's look in there. Yes, this one right here. So, oh, we got to be in this view here. So I like this pendant, this just nice glass pendant, and I'm going to put 2 of those over my island, just centered there. And those are going to be hanging up inside my my tray ceiling that I added in there. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn back on that ceiling here in my ceiling plane. There we go, it turned on. So now that I have my island in, I can go ahead and adjust my tray ceiling. I just want it like tucked up on top of it, and then I'm going to, sometimes the camera gets in the way of things, so I'm just, that's not what I meant to do. Grab that one. I'm going to move that camera out of the way so I can, there we go. So now I can do this, and I'm going to center that on my island, and center that one on my island. And then I'm just going to use my arrow keys and kind of nudge those down to about where I want them to be. And then I'm going to need to take a new view so we can see the ceiling. So I'm going to look at our full overview and go inside, zoom inside there, so I can see up into our ceiling. So you can see that those lights tucked up inside where that tray is, and they're hanging down nicely like that. Okay, so let's actually close out of this one and move this one over to the side. And let's add some general lighting to the room. And here in our electrical, we're just going to use these recessed can lights here. Oops, they've got to be in this one. Electrical, and I'm just going to use this one, which is going to make a recessed can. So I'll just add a few of those around the room. That's going to help light up our room also. Not doing a complicated lighting design here, just adding a few lights. You see, I'm just kind of placing them randomly, not really randomly, but I'm just placing them. And then I'm going to use this tool. I'm going to shift select these three, and I'm going to use the align tool. And I'm going to align their centers this way. All right, and then now I'm going to shift select these three and do the same thing, but I'm not going to do them that way. I'm going to do them this way. So now those are lined up. All right, so I've got one at the range and one at the sink. I'm going to actually center this one at the sink. I'm going to center this one at the range. There we go. All right. Let's look around our room a little bit more. There we go. Okay, that's everything that we're going to go over for getting the kitchen basics laid out. There will be another lesson on getting into the custom cabinetry, but I'm going to split that one out. And then we're going to get more into more of the materials also throughout the rest of the house once we get the rest laid out. But that is the basics for our kitchen.